Hello, Alex. How are you today?
Hi, good morning. Great, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for taking out of your time to have this interview with me. I hope that our investors will love to see it because I'm sure that you have many interesting things to say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's get going.
Okay, so I believe that most of investors are already familiar with what the business model of Ibancar is about, and you also have patented it. But what's more interesting for me to know is how did you come up with this unique business model of Ibancar? Like, how did the idea about it came?
Um, the idea came up when we were seeing how many borrowers were using payday loans, when the
Mm-hmm.
internet came out and everything went digital and smartphone use increased. Um, uh, that's when payday lending really exploded. And we were seeing that many borrowers were using payday loans because it was the only fast option that they had, but they actually needed larger or cheaper loans, and they were not being helped by their banks.
Yeah.
Um, and also because the same lenders, from a lender's perspective, right? From our perspective, payday lending is a very difficult and risky business. It's hard to build a loan book, so we thought of a way to try and reduce the risk, so that we could offer larger loans, more ethical loans to these people who were using the internet and smartphones to get fast loans. So we had to digitize the whole concept of asset-based lending, which comes from pawn shops, but nobody's really successfully digitized.
Yeah.
And we made it as easy as a payday loan, basically, as fast and as easy. And that was the real challenge. And now that we can do asset-based lending, or in our case, using cars as collateral, in a very fast, digital, remote way, we can offer better loans to everyone, and it makes everyone more credit worthy. So the idea basically came from payday lending, from the explosion in payday lending.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a very innovative approach of you, and it seems that is working very well since um, uh, Ibancar continues to grow, which is actually my next question. How is your Spanish business performance right now?
Um, well, pretty good. The loan book performance has been, or continues to be, exceptional. I think we're the sector leader, right, in
Yeah.
non-bank lending or alternative lending. I think we lead the sector in performance. I don't think anyone has the same level of performance, but that's because of the business model, right? That's
Yeah.
the success. Our losses are low single digits, and more than 90% of our non-performing loans are either restructured or the capital is recovered. Um, at the business level, year-on-year growth is, I think, around 92%. Annualized revenues around 8 million, and we've been cash flow positive and profitable for 3 years. And I think there are not many lenders that can say that in this space.
Well, yeah, that's. I also believe that the business model helps for that because when there is a collateral and which is the car, the borrower is way more motivated to pay on time. Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Also, on peer-to-peer platforms like iuvo marketplaces, the buyback is something very important, and that's why all credit companies provide such. But Ibancar's buyback is a bit different. And I would like to ask you what led to the decision to offer a 16-day buyback on iuvo, which was groundbreaking at the time when you started your partnership with us. No one before that has had such a short period for a buyback activation.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons to do it is obviously to be attractive to investors, and to transfer the confidence we have in our products to to investors, but also because we have the ability to do it. We do it precisely because 90% of our non-performing loans either get restructured or recovered. So we're not funding buybacks with our own cash. We're not funding buybacks with equity or profits. We're actually recovering the defaulted capital in the vast majority of cases. So the buying back an NPL has no impact on our business. It has no impact on our bottom line. It's just a cash flow item that we need to manage. But it's not coming out of profits. It's not coming out of our own pockets. We're genuinely recovering the money. So it has very little impact.
That's actually very great to hear, and I believe it's also reassuring for investors. Also, besides this short day period for buyback activation, Ibancar loans are definitely among the most profitable on iuvo. And even if there was a change in the payment schedules, the high interest remains. Would you like to share more details about what provoked the change of the structure of the loans of Ibancar on iuvo?
Yeah, I mean, before we were repaying principal every month, and amortizing over, I think the average loan is 29 months. And as you grow and you have more funding and more investors, it becomes very onerous to manage, basically. So, the investors who like us keep reinvesting. So it made more sense from the investor's perspective to offer them a constant principal, because basically they get more interest. They don't have to reinvest constantly. And from our perspective, it makes it easier to manage the funding and it makes the cash flow simpler. So now we're amortizing over the last 6 months of the loan, and it's basically simpler for both sides.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Just a moment ago, we spoke about the growth of Ibancar, but which areas of Spain is Ibancar more popular? Which areas of Spain is currently growing, and which are yet to grow?
So because we're online, so we're completely digital and remote, we work all over Spain. The majority of our customers are in the big cities, so Madrid, Barcelona, Seville. But I mean, we work all over. With regards to growth, I mean, there are three, let's say, clear or easy opportunities. One is obviously just do more of the same, more of what we're currently doing,
And
which means more work, more marketing, more leads, more processing, more loan issuance. The other is to get more, step more into the payday lead market. So there are huge numbers of people every month using payday loans, and that's probably where the most leads are for online lending. So we can convert those leads into Ibancar loans, which are going to be longer, larger, and cheaper than payday loans. That's a big area of potential growth. And then new products. So at some point, probably Q4 this year, Q1 next year, we will get into car finance. So instead of loans with the car as collateral, we will be offering loans for the buying of secondhand cars.
Oh, that's great news.
So there's a lot of growth still in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that Ibancar is looking into the future with bright new ideas. That's always great to hear that a business is always striving to evolve. But before we continue with your future business plan, I would like to ask a bit of a different question, because Ibancar is definitely among the favorite loan originators on iuvo, but investors usually know very little about the people behind a company. Could you please share more details about your professional background and maybe something about you as a person?
Okay, yeah, well, I used to be a very boring banker. I worked in London for many years at BNP Paribas and Credit Suisse and West LB, and in investment banking in the fixed income derivatives. and I got a bit burnt out, I would say, by
Yeah.
that. So I left. It was a long time ago. Makes me feel ancient now. I left banking in 2008 or 2009.
It wasn't that long.
Well, yeah, I suppose it was my birthday last week, so it
Oh, happy
starts when you
birthday.
yeah, I'm not counting anymore. And then I left. I took a sabbatical. I went sailing. I sailed across the Atlantic with my wife. We had 2 years of adventure, and then retirement was not, or early retirement was not something I was very good at. So I ended up putting my risk management experience to use by setting up a lending business. And now, we look back now, we have 40 people in Malaga, 4 people already in Mexico, and thankfully a very successful business, which has withstood, things like COVID and
Oh yeah, that
um,
was rough.
so yeah, look, it's been a ride.
Yeah, it's been right. Well, people always need adventure, always need something to drive them, to make them feel useful and productive. So I completely understand you when you're saying that early retirement is not for you and you want to put yourself into some good use. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was a bit of a personal information.
Yeah.
Um, and you just mentioned something very interesting that it's actually in my next question, because the reason credit companies onboard on P2P marketplaces is to expand their business. And you just mentioned Mexico. Maybe some investors already know that Ibancar is expanding to Mexico. So would you like to share more about that expansion?
Yeah, I mean, it's been on our agenda for 3 years to look at
Mhm.
a new country, just as part of our natural evolution as a business. We looked at a lot of places in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America, even in Asia. Um, Mexico really stood out. The two countries that stood out were the UK and Mexico because the size of the market and the regulation makes it possible for startups to enter those markets.
Yeah.
There are many markets where it's very difficult to enter as a startup because it's regulated and dominated by banks. Mexico was the obvious standout. Also, the same language. Our team is Spanish speaking. Mexico is a Spanish speaking country. The car culture is very similar. And here we have 130 million people in this country, and I think less than 35% of them have access to credit. And at the same time, 90% of them have smartphones. So
Yeah.
it's a very logical place to start. And our loans here solve the same problems for many people. And we also benefit from the fact that people here use pawn shops regularly. I think 40% of the population use pawn shops. And they physically leave their home, they go to a shop, they leave something there,
It's a bit
this is part of
inconvenient.
their routine. It's like going to the bakery or to the butcher every month. So if we can digitize that process, like we did in Spain, and bring asset-based lending to all these people with smartphones, we've got a fantastic market. And from an operational perspective, the talent and the work ethic that we see in Mexico. I mean, a lot of people are completely bilingual. There's a huge startup ecosystem. A lot of people have, the close links with the US mean that you have some very highly educated workforce with a very high work ethic.
Mhm.
Um, until recently, I mean, this is interesting. Until last year, people only had 6 days holiday here per year, right?
Oh,
There's some crazy stuff here.
yeah.
If you tell that to a European, and they think, what?
I
And
can't
now
even
I think now it's
imagine it.
double. Yeah, and now it's double. Now people have 12 days holiday. So the very high work ethic. It's very different to Europe. It's much more um, maybe a bit more American, right? A bit tougher, the
Yeah.
whole work. So, but anyway, there's a very talented workforce, um, and this is just a great country, and we already we had some good advisors here, and they form now the basis of our team. So yeah, lots of reasons why we chose Mexico, and hopefully next it will be the UK.
Yeah, yeah. Well, why not? UK, as you said, is also a very big market, and
Yeah,
after you conquer Mexico, maybe you will conquer the kingdom.
and let's hope so.
Yeah. And actually, since we're talking about Ibancar Mexico, can we see it as a loan originator on iuvo soon?
Yes, I think as of September, October,
Oh,
we
this
will probably
year.
start publishing the first loans on. Well, September we will start lending in Mexico,
I see.
and then maybe October we'll start to refinance some of those loans on iuvo. Um, it's in the plan. I
Yeah,
think this year. This year. No, I mean it
yeah,
won't be large, won't be big, won't be a lot because we're going to start very carefully. But definitely we will be on iuvo with a Mexican business.
yeah. Well, I'm sure that like other Ibancar loans, investors will buy those loans just like that. It's funny because every time you list new loans, like they go up so fast, and uh, actually,
Yeah,
a lot of investors keep asking when will there be new Ibancar loans? Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's been very successful, and I think part of the strategy is to keep, for us to keep using the iuvo platform because we've been doing it for. I mean, it was our first kind of external funding, and we want to keep that relationship. It's very important to us,
it's also
and
very
also for
important to us.
Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you already explained about the situation in Mexico, but do you have any information about how usually borrowers in Mexico behave, the client profile of the borrowers there? And
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, continue, please.
It's very. I mean, it's far away from Spain, but it's actually very very similar. The car market is very similar. The average age of cars is very similar, which is over 12 years old. The average car. Um, the client profile. You have a huge middle class here. In a country of 130 million, which so that middle class is probably bigger than that middle class in Spain.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
so there's a huge target. You have, I think, 60% of all the cars are in four cities, urban areas, which make the logistics quite easy. Um, and the differences are that people rely more on their car here. They use their car more. The distances are larger. Culturally, people are very proud of their cars. It's their main
Yeah,
asset. So in some
like in
cases, it's more
Bulgaria.
important. Yeah, it's in some cases it's
Yeah,
more important than their house, right? They have a nicer car than they have a house.
sounds
So
familiar.
so those are the differences, which are good, I think, for us. Um, we don't need to make many adjustments to the legal model, to the business model, because legally I mean, it's probably a little bit better than Spain from
Mhm.
our perspective. So most of our tasks are related to IT and connecting to local data providers to, identity verification, income verification, car ownership, car valuation. So it's very much a technical project that we need to launch here. But nevertheless, we're going to start lending slowly while we, develop operational stability. We're not in a rush to scale, which I mean, it's a common mistake made by lenders, right? You don't want to scale a lending business
Yeah.
too quickly. And as I said, from a legal perspective, Mexico is probably better for asset-based lenders in Spain because we have more tools to recover the capital. Um, the collateral is almost impossible for us not to recover the capital from a legal perspective. It's a very strong system.
Great, great. That sounds promising. So as far as I understand, it will be the same business model like Ibancar Spain, maybe with just some adjustments for the local jurisdiction.
Yeah, mainly technical adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the language is a little bit different. The onboarding process of clients needs to be a little bit different. We'll have a video proof of life, like a video call. Um, we will be able to register a mortgage against the car in a public registry. So those are, but the business model will be the same, and it will be very secure.
Great, great. Very good to hear. So what are your expectations for growth in Mexico?
Well, as I said, it's a huge market, and not only is the country, the population, I think 3 times more than Spain. You have many more people in that 130 million who don't have access to credit at all because they don't have a credit history. And even bank accounts here are tiered, right? You have bank accounts for low incomes, bank accounts for middle income. Everything is very structured here, and a lot of people are excluded from traditional credit. So there's a big need for credit, and there's a big fintech scene here. And I expect, within 2 years, I expect the Mexican business to be bigger than our Spanish business, and after that, it will continue to grow faster than Spain for longer than Spain. Which is why we will continue to launch new products in Spain. And when we launch those new products in Spain, we will also be launching those new products in Mexico. So I expect Mexico to be the biggest part of our business within a couple of years.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, it's a big market, so it allows that to grow as big. So yeah, that's also great news. Well, we already said that besides Mexico, you also plan projects for Ibancar in the UK for your next expansion. But besides Ibancar, do you have any other projects that you're working on currently, or you're totally focused on Ibancar?
No, at the moment, our projects are growing in Spain, launching a new product in Spain in the car finance space, and launching the core business in Mexico. I think we need to keep that focus. We don't want to go in many different directions at the same time. Once we feel comfortable that we've established ourselves in Mexico, then we'll look at the next countries, the next products. As I said, the UK is a target market, but it may be easier at that point to continue in Latin America. I mean, we have countries like Peru and Colombia which have favorable fintech environment and regulation. So yeah, I mean, we have ideas, but there are no plans at the stage beyond Spain and Mexico.
I see. Well, this car financing product, when you launch it, I will again ask, can we see these loans on iuvo as well?
Probably. I think I mean, from a legal perspective, it will be a very similar product. The car will be collateral. The interest rates may be a bit lower because it's a higher end credit product. But yeah, I would expect that as long as we don't reach the capacity or the appetite of investors on iuvo, we will continue to use iuvo. I mean, we may reach a point where we're posting millions of euros of loans every month on iuvo and they don't get sold. Then that's a different story. But so long as there's demand, we will keep coming to the marketplace.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for this interview and for your time. I hope that our investors enjoyed it. I believe that there was some very useful information for them here. Would you like to give them a message to everyone that is watching us?
Well, I think, first of all, obviously thank all the investors and iuvo. We've had several years of very, apologize for the noise here, sorry. We've had several years of very successful collaboration. I think we've grown up together. So I think it will be very important to continue that partnership. We want to continue to support the P2P community, even though we'll probably be getting more institutional funding, as we grow. I think part of the successful partnership with iuvo is what's made Ibancar a profitable and cash flow positive business very early on. our next project on the funding side will be probably in September. We will be also, apart from raising debt regularly, we'll be raising equity, which is something we only do we do it very rarely because we don't really have a burn rate. But we'll be raising a small round of equity in September, and we're going to reserve part of that equity for a small number of iuvo investors. Obviously, because they know the business, they like the business.
Yeah.
And we'll probably reach out in September through you guys, through iuvo, to the participants of the platform, to give them that opportunity. And besides that, it's been great. We're very lucky, very happy, very privileged to have such a good partner.
Thank you so much. iuvo is also very privileged to have a partner as Ibancar. And thank you once again for this interview.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.